105 Sports, supported by Nogda Windeman Family and Community Services. Be an alternative care parent. A child needs you.
Welcome to 705 Sports with myself, Jacob Moore, sports analyst. And Dan's back with me again today. As you know, the Jays have been a real big thing going on right now. So Dan's back here to talk with me about some Jays. We got some CFL news. We got some NHL news. But let's dive right into this, as I like to say.
So when the Jays are gone, I don't get to join you anymore?
No, of course not. Please don't leave. Don't leave
Let's
me.
dive right on in. We've got our poll question for this week, and we want to ask the public, do you believe venues should force fans to get vaccinated to enter? Reason we asked this, it just happened in Manitoba.
It did. So actually, this is the second time it's happened in Manitoba. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers originally did this, saying if you're not vaccinated, you cannot come into the arena. Now the Winnipeg Jets, an indoor arena, have decided to do the same thing. So they're looking to do 100% capacity. And they've been told the only way to do 100% capacity if everyone is vaccinated. So everyone must have been vaccinated, both your shots, 2 weeks distance after your second shot, and you have to have a proof of vaccine. Now here's the funny thing though. What is a proof of vaccine?
Nobody really knows that yet.
No one really knows.
The vaccine passport side of the thing has been hot topic all over sports and all over regular news media.
Over the world, realistically.
And if you have one and the other, is that going to be considered? Like if you go to, right now, going to the States, that looks like it's not going to be considered.
It's not, Canada, so it should be okay.
You're just looking at, here's the other side. 15,000 people. That's around about what they can put into the, and I forget what they call it now in Winnipeg. Are you affecting your fanship? Because, so let's take what we have in Canada. We have 80% relatively that have had their first shot, 70 their second. So you take 80% of your fan base, because you just transfer it to sports. You're cutting off 20% of your fan base from ever being able to come see a game. And are you disenfranchising them a little bit?
Now, mind you, apparently they said that the owner group said they did put out a poll to their season ticket holders, and over 90% of them said they wanted forced vaccination. So I think that's why they're doing it. But you do make a good point. And is this fair? And here's where it gets sticky too. So if you want to take your child who's under 12, can they go? I went all through their website about ticket pricing and ticket ordering, and there's nothing about that yet. So let's say you're a father. Congratulations, Dan.
Yay.
Very proud of you. I hope to be the godchild. But if he's under 12,
no, that's MacKinnon.
Can you bring them in?
Well, are you looking at all adults now then? Or 12 and over, teens and adults for games?
And too, some people can't get the vaccine because of a medical condition. So if you can't get it, and here's the funniest thing about this all too, and I'm not going to give my opinion on it either way, but you still have to wear a mask, they say.
Yep. Which,
I mean,
rules are rules. You want to go see a game, you're going to follow the rules. Whether we agree, disagree, or whatever with the rules, these are the rules that some of these individuals and these teams are putting out, so that's the way it's going to be. I'm pretty sure you're going to see it here in Sault Ste. Marie with the Greyhounds too.
It won't surprise me. I know the OHL already put out a statement saying if you work in the OHL community, you're going to have to be vaccinated. And don't know why I'm doing this. This is how I get vaccinated.
I don't know, but what's your rules on eating hot dogs?
I like hot dogs.
And so does Phil Kessel.
And
but
so
apparently,
does Phil Kessel,
according to Nathan MacKinnon, the answer is no. Nada. Zero.
If people have been hearing about this, Nathan MacKinnon's former teammate Zandanoff told a Russian reporter about how playing with MacKinnon was very, very challenging. Talked about how they made it so you couldn't eat certain foods. You weren't even allowed to have the carbonara sauce on your pasta. They took away all pop, dessert, treats, the whole 9 yards. But then you get a guy like Phil Kessel, and we do have an image that I think sums this up absolutely perfectly. Nathan MacKinnon only eats chickpeas, can't get out of the second round. Phil Kessel, you see him there with all his hot dogs, 2-time Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, and just from that quote, we're going to read a little bit here. He's crazy that way. He eats right. He doesn't drink. He drinks only water. 2 years ago in Colorado, He got rid of all the pop, ice cream, desserts. He got rid of them from the dressing room and pregame meals. He replaced the actual pasta itself with chickpea pasta that has more protein and so on. He made pros out of our entire Colorado team. That's one of the reasons the Colorado got such an improvement in performance over the last couple of years, but yet they still cannot get out of the second round. And so we fixed that, the healthy nutrition part, so now it's just talent, right?
And then too, but there's a little more to that. I can understand the dieting, but further in the article, he talks about how if you were in practice and you missed a pass to Nathan MacKinnon, he refused to move his stick, even if, like, let's say his stick's here, the puck is here, he wouldn't move it to go get the puck. And then he will slap shot the puck back at you and come over and start screaming at you. Now, and I understand the guy wants to win, but is that taking it too far? And
there's a fine line between being motivational and being
a donkey.
A horse's ass. But anyway, and thank you for being non-CRTC regulated. But yes, there is that line. Some will argue that that's motivational to them, to get in their face and tell them where to go. There's a lot of the new kids that are coming in that probably find that to be a little excessive.
Intimidating.
And knowing he's, 27, 26? He's got a long way to go to become a Jagr.
And you do wonder, too, with a guy like Nathan MacKinnon, is he going to make it harder for Colorado to get more skill to build around him? Because you have MacKinnon, you have Landeskog. Maybe that's why Philip Grubauer didn't re-sign. Maybe he got screamed at when he didn't make a save or something.
But here's the other side. Maybe they need somebody like a Joe Thornton who's now headed to Florida.
That surprised me.
That surprises me too, but maybe it would have been a spot for him to go so he can give a little bit of that senior guidance, and that move's going to hurt Toronto.
It will.
That Thornton move, losing that dinosaur line, or that part of the dinosaur line, is, I understand his role's duplicated a bit by Spezza, but I still think he was a fan. He was loved by the fan for the times he was here, and headed to Florida. It makes you wonder if the vaccine policy had something to play with that one, too.
You do wonder that, because Zach Bogosian said the same thing. Yep. And I mean, if you look at Joe Thornton, he did put up 20 points in 44 games. For a guy that you didn't really ever give him a permanent role on the team, I actually thought he had a good year with the Leafs. And I think the Leafs are making a mistake, because I don't know if they offered him a contract, but let's just say they didn't. I think Thornton was the right fit for the group, unless he feels Toronto isn't a Stanley Cup champion.
There's always that possibility too, but he's going to Florida. We can't really argue they are. So,
but they also just picked up Sam Reinhart. They got Sam Bennett last year. They have Sault, but they did lose Chris Drieger in net. So it's...
Can we go up the age scale one more little tidbit here and go talk about Jagr? At 50 years old, he still wants to play.
I mean, Jaromir Jagr, he is a hockey legend. So Jagr, a superstar and legend, is closing in on the age of 50, as Dan just said. And he owns his own team in the Czech Republic that he also plays for. He spoke with Hockey Talks and a Czechoslovakian reporter as well. And they talked about how he also feels though he has to play. Because he's afraid that if he leaves the team, all the sponsorships will leave and the team will close. Mind you, Jagr's saying he feels he needs to do better. He did get 12 points in 20 games as a 49-year-old.
I'm going to say that's better than some of the younger... I went and did a quick look at some of the younger players on that team. They didn't get that.
And if you watch these highlights here, the guy still has the hands. He still... Look at his power skating. Look at that one-timer there. That's a good save. And his release and his shot, you can see Jagr still has it in him, and he says he feels he can be better. So I'm excited to see what Jagr does this year.
So am I, but talking about still has it in us, we have a whole lot more show to do here, and that will come after we talk to our sponsors. Thank you very much for joining us, and come back after the break.
.705 Sports, supported by the Canadian Bush Plain Heritage Centre, where adventure takes off.
Some sad news struck Sault Ste. Marie's sporting area this week in learning that Tony Esposito had lost his quick battle to cancer. He is known best as the creator of the butterfly save. He spent many years here playing for the Greyhounds. He went on to an absolutely amazing NHL career. And we here at 705 Sports would like to extend our greatest sympathies to the family. Jacob, I know you have a couple things to say for this.
Yeah, I want to talk about how, when you mentioned the creator of the butterfly, even that save right there, so he was the type of guy that he really reinvented the entire goaltending position. So before he was in net, goalies were using what was called a stand-up style, meaning they would stand up straight and tall and try to cover as much of the net as physically possible. When you look at Esposito here, he actually started going down on the pads to try to cover the bottom half of the net. Now, the reason why this is so impactful as well, pretty much every goalie now uses what's called a butterfly or a hybrid, which is a mixture between the two. So by Esposito switching to this style, he literally reinvented the goaltending position. And talking with other colleagues and friends, this is more than just reinventing the goalie position. This changed the entire sport. Because I want you to think about it. What I remember, not that I was born yet, but when you watch hockey back then, all the shots were down on the ice. Esposito forced the game to become faster and quicker and start trying to go upstairs with it. He still holds the NHL record for most shutouts in a single season with 15. Speaking with people who knew him well, watching like memorials and testimony videos and whatnot, they also talked about how he was just so driven and dedicated to not just win, but get a shutout, and he absolutely loved the game. It's a very, very sad time. I mean, at least now he's in peace, and
he's and it seems to be such a cliche thing, but he's no longer in pain.
I mean, and that's a very important.
And his memory is going to carry on, and the way look at Carey Price, look at some of the other number one goalies,
Fleury,
they all will admit to watching how he did it and going from there.
And they basically he was also one of the first ones to wear a mask. Not PPE, but like an actual goalie mask. Like, he really reinvented the position and realistically reinvented the whole game.
And I believe if he's not, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I do believe he is in the Hall of Fame.
I believe he is, yeah.
And I wonder too if maybe, it doesn't happen very often, but will he become a builder in the Hall of Fame also because of what he did? Speaking of building, and we're going to come back into our game now, we have a new defenseman that is committed to the Greyhounds, and I'm not even going to try and say the name. I told Jacob that completely off the record here, so this is going to be up to Jacob to make this announcement. Have fun, bud.
Well, it was Karel Kustetsev, love the name by the way, is the team's first round pick in the CHL import draft. So he is now committed to the Hounds with a standard contract. Last year in Russia's top league, the 17-year-old, which I want to say in the top league when you're 17, that's impressive. So you know this kid's got skill. Finished year with 2 goals and 7 points in just over 20 games. So welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. It's going to be a bit of a contrast here. At least you're used to the cold. Yeah, I'm not.
Depending on where he's from in Russia, it might be warmer.
It could be warmer. But congratulations on coming here. We can't wait to cheer you on with the rest of our Greyhounds. I mean, I'm excited to see the Greyhounds and the OHL when the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League get back as well. It's going to be,
and some of the minor hockey, like just being able to go down to a Saturday rink and going down to whatever rink it happens to be and just seeing the kids play.
And also don't even forget about our baseball that's going on right now. The Sioux Blackhawks have a tournament this weekend down at the fields over on Second Line. Of course, the name is escaping me again. Strathclair, thank you.
Strathclair Park, yep.
So remember to
go on down,
there,
take a look, see them,
cheer them on. I'll be there as well.
I'll be swinging by with the camera.
Dan's going to be there as well. So if you see us, come say hi as well. Go cheer on your Sioux Blackhawks as they face off other teams like Sudbury, and this is big to have those teams come here.
And maybe those Sioux Blackhawks will become Blue Jays. At some point. You can only hope. Or play for Team Canada, whatever else. But right now, the Blue Jays have just wrapped up in California, sunny California with...
Hotel California.
Well, pretty much the Hotel California. This case was Los Angeles. They split the series. What was going to be 4 games because of a doubleheader. They won 2, lost 2. Hence, split the series. They also lost Ross Stripling. It's talking that they're saying it's going to be a oblique injury is what I heard when the game was being called. It may have changed since then. Oblique injuries in baseball are not 10 days. This 10-day DL stint is exactly what they do with every player when they're trying to determine what the next step is going to be. Obliques in pitchers, because of the torque and everything else they put on their body, you're looking 1 month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So you're talking August, September. You may not see Stripling again as a Blue Jay by the end of the year, and not knowing his contract status at the top. So does that hurt? And that's going to be the question that's been asked. Is losing Stripling hurt? Yes, looking at the numbers that he has What do we have here? I can't actually. I'm trying to.
So bringing that up, I mean,
Yeah.
we have a graphic that's going to come up on your screen, but he's winning less than 50% of his games, which is an issue. His ERA is also a bit higher than I'd like it at a 4.34. He does have those 91 strikeouts, though, which I mean, so he's not having a bad season, but if you compare him to see his career stats, he's winning less games and his ERA was normally lower.
You lost me at win-loss with a 4.55. I was like, we're looking at ERA. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know what is. That's usually a 9.5. So basically about
45%.
Yeah, I think he's 9 and 8 or something to that effect. But
so it's just one of those things. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is a big loss looking at his stats, or do you think this is a chance for another pitcher to maybe step up and maybe play better?
I think you're going to start seeing maybe what some teams do right now, which is a ballplaying game. Los Angeles Dodgers are doing that right now because they have so many starting pitchers down, where you might see Barucki come in and pitch 3, then maybe a hand pitch 2, and then go into your 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. I think that might be the early solution. Do we try and extend somebody out of the pen? There are some options. Is it a big loss? It depends on what fills that spot.
Well, right now they have Ross Thornton, who they brought up from AAA. I mean, I'm a little surprised they didn't bring up Pearson again. I know he didn't have a great stint up here earlier in the season, but I actually thought they might have tried him again, just because the guy does have one.
I think what you're going to see is Thornton with the experience is going to get the shot, and being in a pennant race, because that's a bit maybe a stretch at 42% chance, which is higher than 40 last week, but a 42% chance to make the playoffs. Do we call it a pennant race? Who knows? But knowing that is the position we're at, Thornton gets a shot. He's got a bit of an experience there. He doesn't do it. Yeah, you might see Nathan get up here and have a second shot.
I'd like to see him get another chance.
He's been struggling still with that control and release point in Buffalo, so there's always... Let's get that squared away before you start pitching to the Red Sox, who we don't see again, but the Yankees and Rays, who we do.
The Yanks are coming, but you know what we also have? We have a Field of Dreams game.
The Yankees walked out of a cornfield onto a ball diamond. I did not think I would ever watch that live and see that actually happen, but to see Kevin Costner come out with a like you're seeing here, with a baseball, and bring people, the White Sox, the Yankees, to Iowa, where if you build it, we will come. There's people in this world that absolutely detest that movie, but there's lots of people in this world that don't. One of the stats that really came out of there yesterday, the Chicago White Sox have beat the New York Yankees 15 times with a walk-off home run. They did it again last night. It was 9-8. The first one was done by Shoeless Joe Jackson back in 1919. If you want Hollywood, there's Hollywood for you. So I have a question for you. If you took a baseball glove out and went with your dad or another figure there and said, do you want to play catch, or what's the word here we're using? Do you want to catch, or how do we say it here? Anyway, how was it worded when you took a baseball glove out? I was always, do you want to play catch?
Oh, see, my family was always my grandpa and I, and he'd say, hey, do you want to go throw the ball around?
Throw the ball around.
So, it was different for everybody, I guess. But I thought that was a really cool moment with the Field of Dreams. And you're right, I never thought I wanted to see two teams walk out of a cornfield. But you know what? It was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
And some of the people, if you look at some of the, MLB has a great photo gallery. Being a photographer, I absolutely go looking for these photo galleries. They have an absolutely wonderful photo gallery from last night. Go take a look at it, MLB.com. You can't miss it. It's right up there in the top right-hand side.
But don't go now.
Don't go now. But they it shows even people that were doing the scoreboards were dressed like it was 1919.
That is really cool. But you know what's not 1919?
No, but it's about 9.5 minutes into our segment, so we better get going into our sponsorship.
And you got to go to a break, but stay right there. Don't go anywhere unless you got to brush your hair, get some eggs. We'll be right back.
705 Sports, supported by James Seaton Mortgage Specialist. Your new home doesn't come with mortgage advice. I do. Call James Seaton Mortgage Specialist, RBC 705-975-1519.
Hello. Welcome back to 705 Sports with myself and Dan Gray's joining me this week. Wondering why I did that wave? I have no idea why. So when I was on the morning show... I
think it's because you're hyped up for your favorite segment of the show.
That too, but when I was on the morning show on Monday, every time I went, I'm like, hello. No idea why. I was really, really tired. But right now, I'm really, really hyped.
Yeah, last night's game was a fairly interesting encounter, wouldn't you agree? Mitchell throwing 4 interceptions and losing his first 2 games of the season. That he does not look right.
He doesn't.
There is something missing in his game. I can't pinpoint it. I haven't watched him enough play, but it's almost like the game's going faster than he can comprehend it at the moment, and that's weird.
It is, and you know what? We had the exact same problem with the Calgary Stampeders in week 1. So let's quickly recap what happened in the first week of the CFL. We do have a graphic for that as well, and we had quite a few surprises here. We had the Hamilton Tiger Cats only getting 6 points in their first game off their first drive.
I'd like to say we both called the Argos.
We did both call the Argos, and Mitchell didn't look solid in that game either, with the Argos winning 23-20. The BC Lions almost completed an insane comeback, almost beating the Rough Riders, but the Rough Riders able to hang on for 33-29.
Before we go any further, the crowd in Saskatchewan, absolutely amazing.
Oh, 100%.
It was wonderful to see them. Out of all the teams and all the crowd noise from last week, that was the
Saskatchewan's
best one
Canada's team.
Absolutely it is. And then we had the Edmonton Elks. They lost. We called them to win. They lost to the Ottawa Red Blacks. Basically 16-12.
That came down to Ottawa's defense was second to none, and Ottawa won the game of only getting 72 passing yards. This is what I love about the CFL. You just never know from game to game because it is such a different game than the NFL. But speaking of another game, and we talked about a little bit, let's get into week 2 with our first game of the week, which was the BC Lions versus the Calgary Stampeders. Michael O'Reilly wasn't even supposed to play in this game, but he had a phenomenal game, going 26 for 33, 342 yards. The 0 touchdowns concerns me a bit for the Lions. I think they need to work on that. And then Lucky Whitehead also had a very solid game for the Lions with 6 receptions and 108 yards. He was doing a really good job at being able to push that ball forward, averaging 18 yards a play, which is almost 2 first downs.
But when we ask what's wrong with the Stampeders, what you have up here is exactly what's wrong with the Stampeders. Levi Mitchell, their quarterback, 31 for 38, 290, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Kamar Jordan, one of their supposedly best wide receivers, 3 receptions, 68 yards.
It was weird, and I've been a Bo Levi Mitchell. For people who don't follow the CFL as much, he has been like the Tom Brady of this era for quarterbacks. Like, he is that guy that you just assume is going to always make the right throw and everything. And he just looked off this game, which was weird. And I mean, sure, you were getting some plays. He was able to move the ball down the field of almost 300 yards. But I've never seen him not look comfortable in the pocket. He's not making smart throws.
Did the off year catch him? Did the off year catch up to him?
I don't know, but there's plenty of other quarterbacks who are coming in these off years. Michael O'Reilly's playing hurt, and he's getting the job done. And you're looking at Bo Levi Mitchell, who's just not getting the job done. And I think Calgary fans, there's one of the interceptions right there. What kind of throw is that?
Over what? 7,
way
feet over his head?
Yeah. And if you're at Calgary, going 0-2 is actually really concerning. Remember, too, this is a shorter season this year.
Yeah.
So Calgary needs to...
12 games, right?
About either 12 or 14. So Calgary needs to get their game back. And I'm going to say something that I think most people wouldn't agree with me, but frankly, I don't really care. It's my name on the background, not someone else's. Bo Levi Mitchell should have been pulled in that game. They should have went to the rookie quarterback just to see if he could have lit a spark on the team. And I think with Mitchell, give him the start next week. But if he starts off playing terrible again, get him out.
To that point, the Lions are better than you in Calgary right now. I'm sorry. We understood that when you lost some of your players, that you might not be as good as you were. But this is all about quarterbacking.
Mitchell was definitely the problem.
We're carrying on down that road to what happens this week.
So this week we still have 3 more games going on tonight, which not tonight, between tonight and tomorrow. My apologies. Please forgive. The first game we have is, you know what, I'm going to show my favoritism here. My Toronto Argos versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Actually, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is also one of my favorite teams in this league, actually. But we do have a graphic breaking this game down a little bit. So, let's break it down to my favorite phrase. So both of these
don't dance it, please.
Both of these teams won in week 1. I think what surprised people was Bethel Thompson throwing for 354 yards. That surprised me. Mind you, he still wasn't getting the deep ball as much as he would have liked.
No interceptions, though. I think he's I think he was the only quarterback last week to go with 0. Claros went with 0. But interceptions seem to be a theme.
It is, and Eric Rogers had a really solid game. There were guys with more yards than Rogers, but Rogers, he made that 2-point convert catch that was so important. He was the one that got the touchdown on that winning drive. He was a huge part of the game. I think the Argos do want to get their running game more involved this week, which is something, Dan, I know you know this, the Blue Bombers definitely got their running game going.
They most definitely got their running game going. At 22 carries for 126 yards, Bradley Oliveira. I can't even say his last name.
Oliveira.
I was close.
You were.
I was going to say Oliverio, and that's one of our platoon chiefs here in the fire department. But anyway, he ran the ground, and he's bringing a different wave, and if the Argos can't stop him, there's going to be problems. That's any ground game, but he seems to be going to be a star and maybe a one and done headed to the NFL. I heard that rumor already once this week.
And I'm also wondering too, and this is a play here by the Argos, they need to make sure they do not fumble the ball like that, like they did last week.
Patrol.
But for the Blue Bombers, will there be a controversy? I can't believe I'm already going to bring this up.
Is there
a controversy between Andrew Harris and Bradley Oliveira? If, let's say, he puts up another 100-plus yards game again tonight, and then he does it the next week when Harris is back, do you trade one of those guys, or do you have the most deadly running back combo in the league?
Them? That's the other option. Or, again, you're probably looking with the way the running game is in the rest of the league right now, and we'll know a little more after this weekend. Mm-hmm. Probably trade bait. Probably
because a lot of the teams this year in the CFL, you really need to be able to run the ball, getting an average of at least 5 yards a carry. But we already need to move on to our next game, which let's get into Saturday. And so we have the Montreal Alouettes versus the Edmonton Elks. So this will be the first chance we get to see Montreal this year. So we do know that their quarterback, Vernon Adams Jr., had a pretty good season last year, going for just under 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns. Running back also too, and Stampback had a pretty good year as well, rushing over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Elks need to fix some mistakes from last week.
Slightly.
I mean, Trevor Harris looked uncomfortable in that game. Ottawa did a great job last week.
They are the reason, I believe, that all of the CFL looked slow last week. Just that game was really slow. That game behind seemed to be a very slow pace, and everybody was a half a football length behind the rest of the gameplay. And they got to fix that half step behind her. You're just not going to compete here. You're
not. And, I think, too, for them especially, Ottawa did do a good job in their credit on their awesome defense. But I also think I want to see more from James Wilder Jr., their running back. He was a guy who was brought into this team to help with the offense on their running game. And I think the only guys that really had a good game for Edmonton would have been the field goal kicker.
And on that note, we have one more game we have to kick to.
One more game.
Saskatchewan.
One more time.
No,
I'm weird. I don't know.
Did I miss something? Yes, so we did.
No, you're right.
I was right. I was going to call the Lions. We already covered that one.
We already got it all lined up here.
So we're going to play my Ticats, and the Ticats just need to frankly get better. They need to find the Air Force they're supposed to be and stop trying to run balls on the ground.
Well, because you know what? Also, too, Brandon Banks did not look comfortable in Game 1 for Hamilton, and I think that was because Masoli wasn't moving the ball forward as much as he likes to.
242 is not bad.
It's not, it's not even just the stats for me. It's that when you watch that game, as you say, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are known for bombing that ball down the field 30, 40, 50, 60 yards of play when they want to.
Big games.
That game, they weren't averaging anywhere near that, and I think that was a huge problem. And then I also feel for the Rough Riders, they are going to want to clean up their defense, considering they almost blew a 32-9 lead.
But
32-9.
Hamilton is going into Saskatchewan.
32-9.
Yes, 32-9. To the Lions. No, but I'm hard on the Lions. I've never liked the Lions. But I laugh and I say that maybe it's because they're not Ticats, but
exactly.
Anyway, we're looking at the Ticats just need to hit, and Saskatchewan just needs to have that 12th man or 13th man or 14th man, all 15 men when they have that crowd behind
What they need to do is take the first half, right? copy it, Control C, Control V. And that second half, let's just get that out of here.
You mean play 60 minutes and give 110% for the whole time?
Yes.
You're welcome, Kevin.
Get balls in deep. But you know what? We got to go already. I don't know, where does the half hour go? It goes in my ice cap. Thank you very much for joining myself, Dan. Thank you to the On TV staff. And we know this is tradition. Dan, I think you're getting better at this,
I'm getting better at this, too. One's going to end up
Ready
a
to
paper
go?
cut. One.
And bye.
I don't.
705 Sports, supported by United Way. Help make your community a better place. Show your local love and donate today.